All right, let's switch over to Chris for a second. Now, Chris, your concern is you live near this field, right?
Yeah, I'm a resident of the area.
Where do you live, Paul?
I live on C Street, right near Grumpy White's.
Oh, okay. And where do you live?
I live about half a block up from Faxon Field.
How did you get
Southern Artery?
How did you get involved in this?
Well, when I found out that they were going to put a track down on Faxon Field, I started thinking that I don't want it down there. Not only do I not want it down there, but the neighbors don't want to do it down there. There's a lot of issues that go along with a track of that magnitude and size. One being safety issues, other being traffic issues in and out of the neighborhood. And one of the biggest concerns that, the neighbors and I have talked about even before the thought process of putting the track down there was the flooding issues. As it stands now, that's what I started to fight for. In the process of making a little bit of noise, I got support from the track community. Maureen Keeley called me up, and she's been very instrumental in this whole process too. So it's been a neighboring and a track community joint venture thus far.
What does this guy Hennessy? I don't know. I met him a couple. What's his position on this? He's like a track guru in Quincy.
Well, Hennessy was in full support of us at the beginning. He, in fact, gave us a letter called The Truth to put on our website, buildquincytrack.org, which explained his views in his words on the whole track process up until that point. Somewhere along the line, he did switch and say that Faxon Field to him was an adequate site, even though it would not house the
Is this during
javelin
the
or
Field
anything.
administration or during the Koch administration?
No, this is during the Koch administration, But, honestly, in Jeff's defense, I think he just wants a track. You know what I mean?
Well, he's in a bad position, too, because he's a city employee with a maid that wants it somewhere else. Though I imagine he's a unionized employee, but still that does make it sort of difficult, I would say, for him. So how did your committee start to oppose this? What did you do to oppose? Because this was all set to go to Pageant Field when Bill Phelan was the mayor.
Well, I got to tell you, it's been a learning process the whole way. When we first started, I've personally never fought City Hall on anything. Never mind something of this magnitude. So it's been a stumbling process. You go and ask questions here. You talk about what we can do over here. A lot of people lend their voice. And that it started off kind of slow, but then we figured out, okay, we'll start a petition. That seems like a logical step, non-confrontational the whole way. Went out, worked the city. Every Saturday, there was, whether it be at Shop and Shop in Southern Artery or North Quincy, or at any Dunkin' Donuts in Squantum. We all worked as a Parents for Pageant group with a core group of 20 members.
Well, let me interrupt you, because sometimes I interrupt. I shouldn't do it, but I know when Mayor Phelan wanted to put the track at Pageant Field, there was a committee very active against that. Was your committee formed at the same time that they were against the Pageant Field committee?
No, actually, our committee was formed when they made reference that they were going to relocate the track to Faxon Field.
Now, there was a woman in that. There was a woman that headed that committee.
Judith Kaminsky.
Now, if I believe, amazing as things would be, she happened to go on the Park and Rec Board after that, right?
Yeah, well, that's been one of our complaints from the very beginning, is the fact that when he made the decision, he took everybody off the Park and Rec Board who was in favor of the Pageant Field site and replaced them with different individuals. Went into the Park and Rec Board, as the minutes state, and also the Patriot Ledger did a news article on it, and Mayor Koch asked that the Park and Rec Board rescind the vote and then create a new vote to put the track on Pageant Field. Now, in this time, by doing this, one of our biggest complaints is that it shouldn't have been able to be rescinded due to the fact that they've spent over $106,000 on the planning, engineering, and designing of a track on Pageant Field.
See, the thing is, though, to the winner goes the spoils. I mean, Koch won the election, so I can see him putting people that favor his positions on boards. But if, when things have been already voted on and put in place, you spend money on it, and I don't think in this past election that, even though he stated he didn't want the track and pageant, that was on the top of the citizens' mind, because you're involved in the school strike and all that stuff, and the firemen, the cops, the teachers are all on his side against failing and stuff like that. So I think the citizens of Quincy let that sneak by them, but he did replace that whole board. And I think that's one of the issues, one of the things that Mayor Field, and I do criticize Mayor Field once, even though he's a friend of mine and stuff, he gets mad if I do it, but I think that's a mistake he made when he ran. He didn't wipe everybody out. He should have got everybody that wasn't a civil service job, they should have been gone, because he kept on people that were opposed to him. They were all Sheets people, and Sheets people are just Coke people with a different hairdo. That's all they are. And he kept them on there, and they come back to bite him. And they should have done that. I mean, you don't keep people that are your employee supporters on because they're going to hurt you. And unfortunately this happened. But yeah, she ended up on that committee, and they voted to do that. The city already spent $100,000, I believe, on Pageant Field.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, I really didn't have an opinion on this, to tell you the truth. I had Coke on the show 3 times, I had Dimmons on twice. And I go back and forth on it, but I just know I don't think Faxon Field's the right place for it, and I think we missed the boat. And things are coming out that Mayor Koch was a Park and Rec Board director. He was in charge of the stadium, and it was done. They didn't do it right, or the track would have been there, or they could have taken the time to go fight Bill Allwood, who didn't want it there. Who was a guy that asked. He's a tough guy to deal with, but still they could have fought that. He wanted to protect some wetlands or some turtle or something. I don't know what it was, but from what I understand, the mayor wasn't informed of that until the last minute. Everything was going along smoothly, and then all of a sudden this becomes a boondoggle here. But if you go up to Pageant Field, and I would go up there in the spring out there because my grandkids play baseball up there. I know there's a number of people that go up there, take their dogs up there. I take my dog to Faxon Park, my new dog, and I'm up there. But there's nothing up there that would prohibit that from being a track. That'd be a great location. Trim has tried to talk me out of it, and he succeeded somewhat one time when he had a meeting at the high school. But then it's just, you got to just look. It's almost like the definition of pornography. You don't know what it is, but you know what it is when you see it. Something like that, Supreme Court said. All you got to do is look at Faxon Park, or Faxon Field. You know that's not a good site for a track. You might not be able to put it in the right words, but the picture just seems too confined, and it's in an area that's susceptible to water damage and things like that. Now, I know you brought some pictures here of some damage with water and stuff, right?
Yeah, I did.
Why don't we then,
I brought some pictures.
we'll see if we can get these on camera so people can see them.
I brought some pictures of a gentleman by the name of John Heidel. I wanted to show you his backyard, stuff that some of the neighbors have to deal with. The first picture will be, it shows a pump pumping out. This is right on Southern Artery. This is 357 Southern Artery. And the guy that owns it, his name's John Heidel. Now that pump right over there is pumping out the backyards of these people's houses. The city comes down and does it voluntarily for them whenever they need to. They call up and they come down and do it. Now, a couple more pictures. This is Edgemere Circle, directly behind the high school. And that whole area is flooded like there's no tomorrow under heavy rain conditions. And this, again, is another picture of somebody's house right on that area back there. Now this, to me, is major flooding issues. And a lot of the big problems I have with this project going on Faxon Field is it's been forced the entire way, Gus. When the school committee voted it down, okay, Mayor Koch the very next day said, we're going to go forward with it in the Patriot Ledger. And on top of that, he put a boring machine on Faxon Field and did test borings with no proper permitting. So that shows it being forced there. Secondly, there's been no studies whatsoever, no traffic studies, no environmental impact studies. Where we are in the DEP right now, there's been a lot of back and forth conversation through email that during the Conservation Commission meeting, me and a bunch of my neighbors went up to that meeting and stressed our points on the fact that flooding is a major issue. John Heidel spoke in documented pictures that he's lost his garage where that pump was in that picture. And they decided, okay, well, we're going to put an equalization pipe. Well, Mr. Kodad, being lead appellant on this issue, wants a hydrological study of the wetland areas to make sure that this pipe is not only going to be efficient in doing its job at flood relief, but also environmentally friendly without damaging anything.